blooper number 500,298.
This show is for educational purposes, mostly. But don't take yourself too seriously, so stay till the end so you can see the bloopers.
Sometimes life happening to us. Hi, Charlie girl. And sometimes it's happening for us. I like to say life is happening for us. With this episode on Gogopreneur, the idea is for you to realize that life is not always going to go your way. You can have everything planned out and be like, then, this is what I'm doing today. And then something goes south. On this specific day, I had an agent attraction call scheduled with a big agent attractor, the number one in the state of Michigan, Jeff Glover. It was a big deal. I was ready. I had my Zoom on, like everything was ready. And then 3 minutes before the call, someone knocks on the door, and we just built this house here in Florida, and it was new construction, and the floor guys had it to be rescheduled because we had some issues. And next thing you know, that's when they are coming, and that's the only time they have it, right? I was like, oh my gosh, this can't happen. This cannot happen. I have like one of the biggest calls of my life scheduled, and hammers and everything in the background. This can't happen, right? I'm like, what am I going to do? That's what this episode about. It's about improvising, as I like to say it, jump and build a plane on the way down.
Welcome to Gogopreneur.
We have a live call in, how many minutes? In 7 minutes. I had somebody stop over to fix our flooring, so they're pounding, and so that's not gonna work for us. So I just met Matt, who's also an EXP agent who happens to be living in our neighborhood. He was coming over for the live. We literally just met, and then I had to ask him if I can drive over to his house to do this live, because in my house it's very loud right now. So since the workers are there, I can't make them all to leave, so I'm gonna leave and go over to Matt's house. And he was so kind. They also just moved in, but they happen to have Wi-Fi, so that's all I need. I need Wi-Fi. I have everything else, so we are pedal to the metal to make it over to Matt's house. That's how it works. You improvise. It's not about the resources that you have. It's about how resourceful you are. In other ways, I like to say it, it's not about the cards that you've been handed, the hand that you got, right? It's about how you play that hand. So let's get it done, whatever it takes. See you soon. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Dean, Gogo, Dean. You set up wherever you want.
Perfect. No internet. Okay, let me get my pen.
Lindsay, Gogo's just running a minute behind, so she's gonna hop on in a second. So she asked for me to hop on and get it going, and then she'll hop on and do the introduction and everything. So let's see, but I don't see. Oh, here he comes right now.
How about this for nice to meet you, right? It was so funny. Jace was like, so you just met this guy? I'm like, literally just now.
That's it. That's how we do it. Gotta love the XP Realty, right?
I know, right? Yep, it's not. It's spinning. Maybe I can hotspot it. I don't know if I have hotspot on this.
Cell service sucks here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, oh, it's on now. Sometimes making a decision on a whim in that moment is when your destiny is shaped. Most people are like, oh, well, that didn't work out, and I leave it at that. Instead of being like, okay, well, it's not working out this way, but what else can I do to make it happen? Who else do I know? What place could I go to very quick that has Wi-Fi? Your decisions are responsible for shaping your future, your destiny, and that's in your hand. That's your ability to make decisions on a whim. That is most successful people's biggest asset, is that they make a decision on the whim. They're like, they follow their gut feelings, like this is what we're going to be doing, and they don't think about the when and the how. They think about this is what we are doing, and then they jump. So you're going to build a plane on the way down, and that's okay. So make decisions on the whim. Always follow your gut feeling and your decisions that shape your destiny.
Welcome, Jeff. I think you are here. I saw your name pop up, but I don't see you.
Well, hello.
There you are. Hey, I'm Christy. I'm Gogo's right hand. She's running just a minute behind, but she's gonna jump in. That's her right now, actually. Hold on one second.
All right.
See? Actually, we gotta get two at the same time, right?
That's right.
Hello?
What's my password for Gogo's real estate?
Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. First time meeting you, not up front, but at least on Zoom.
For sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
glad to be with you guys.
Yeah, I follow all your stuff, and you're like one of like the most genuine. I can tell like everything you do, like you know it and you believe in it. You're not out just trying to sell stuff. Like you really mean it, and you really care about the people that you're training. Like
Well,
seriously.
Appreciate you saying that, and I'll tell you, it's easy to talk about things that you're doing. That's the thing. I only talk about what I'm doing, so it's easy to talk about.
Is Jeff on? I think I'm in. Yep, I'm in. Okay. You're the best. Thank you. See you in a couple. Bye. Matt, can I improvise and could I use that as my stand?
Whatever you need.
Just it's a little higher. There we go. Wonderful. How about this for content? I like to see it in action. Okay, Zoom.
People helping people, it's a beautiful thing.
New meeting. But I feel like I met you before though.
We chatted at the shareholder summit
Okay.
briefly because I told you that hey, we're gonna be neighbors. You were having lunch with your son or something. So
All
got
right.
like
I see two Gogo, so I think she's here.
Hi everyone.
She's here.
Hi. I think she made
Morning.
it. Like, given a marathon already to make this happen. So sorry for being late. I'm always here on time. But what happened this morning is Matt. This is Matt, everyone. He lives in our neighborhood. He also happens to be EXP agent, and we planned on meeting today. And I told him, hey, I have an agent attraction call if you would like to sit in on it, right? So he drives over to my house. Well, in the same time, I had no idea that Dwayne scheduled the floor people. And just 12 minutes before this, there's a lot of banging. So I told Dwayne, I'm like, they have 12 minutes. 12. Can they finish whatever they're doing in 12 minutes? And no, they can't. So then my next option was to ask Matt, whom I just literally met. Like we got as far as, hi, Matt, nice to meet you. Let's go live, right? And I had to ask him, can I come over to your house? So I'm at Matt's house. We were speeding through the neighborhood, but then I had to attach to his Wi-Fi and all of those things. But I am here, and I just wanted you all to see like sometimes what it takes, right? So everyone, I am so excited. This is our first time ever for having an outsider teaching us agent attraction. There's so many different ways to build a team, right? And so many different ways. I mean, like you can build a local team, you can build an organization. Same with Keller Williams. They have what's called profit share, right? So I'm sure you're using and abusing all of those, Jeff, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So everybody, this is Jeff Glover. If you don't know who he is, all you need to do is take a flight to Michigan and drive down on the highway at 96 and look left or right. And about every 6 feet, you're going to see Jeff.
No, not that many billboards, but thank you.
You know, sometimes you see those people on the big screen and you think that they are a certain way, and then you meet them and you're like, oh my gosh, it's actually really nice.
Well, thank you for saying that.
You've always been so kind to me. So you started real estate at the age of 19.
I was 18 when I was in my classes. I got my license like right when I turned 19.
Was it an easy ride always? Like you did 30 deals in your first year.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like real estate comes like how did you do 30 transactions in your first year?
Yeah. It was, I'll never forget. I was sitting in my broker's office and his name was Tim Riley. He's no longer with us today. And I said, Tim, this was like maybe 30 days in. I was going through their training, their open house training and how to write a contract and kind of, the stuff that you don't really, use until you have sales. They were doing it the backwards way. And I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it in this business, Tim. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm 19 years old. I look like I'm 14. I don't own a home. I live in an apartment. I'm driving the same car that I had in high school. Like, why is someone going to trust me with their house? I looked around the office. I kind of pointed to the door. I'm like, everyone here is old timers. Cause when you're 18, 19, people in their 30s are old timers, which is kind of funny now. Cause now it's like, wait a minute, am I the old timer now? Anyways. And he said, Jeff, just stop right there. He said, cause I went down the path of, my friends. He said, well, I know none of your friends are probably buying homes right now, but they all have parents and they all have families. And I said, the parents of my friends, I'm the same guy that was hanging out at their house until 4 a.m. on Fridays. Like, they're not going to trust me with referring me to their friends and so forth. And he said, all right, well, you need to make a decision. He said, there's two types of people in this world. He said, there's people that you know, and there's people that you don't know. He said, which group is bigger? I said, well, obviously the group of people that I don't know. He said, exactly. He said, so you're going to focus on complete strangers. You're not going to work with sphere of influence. You're not going to do this database stuff. Don't worry about that until later in your career. You're going to go after people that you don't know, complete strangers. He said, because they don't know how old you are. They don't know how late you stayed out the night before. They don't know that you partied with their kids or any of that stuff. You're going to go after complete strangers. And he taught me how to work expireds and for sale by owners. I asked him, I said, well, how am I going to do that? And I understand that we're not going to be working with family and friends. And I get that. Cool. Thank you. But how is an expired or for sale by owner not going to ask me how old I am or how much experience I have? He said, because he said, that's simple, Jeff. You just have to sound like you've been doing it a long time. Seriously, that was his advice to me. Oh, okay. I just got to sound like I've been doing it. And I remember repeating myself. I said, Tim, I'm 19. I look like I'm 14. I don't own an apartment. Like, I literally repeated. I'm like, how do I sound like I've been doing it a long time? And he opened up his bottom left desk drawer, opened up a script book. And he said, I want you to go through this. And I want you to grab the for sale by owner script. I want you to grab the expired script. And I want you to grab a listing presentation. Now, Gogo, back then, there was only like 6 real estate trainer and coaches because there was no social media. So like nobody could proclaim that, that they were a trainer or a coach. Now you know how it works. You sell 6 homes and you can put that on your business card, entrepreneur, CEO, all this other stuff. So he basically gave me an assignment, and that was I had to write out the expired and the for sale by owner script once a day for 30 days. I had to chant it once a day for 30 days and I had to role play it once a day for 30 days. And so this was like the summer of 2003. And at the end of August, when I was done with this activity, I was holding open houses and doing all the stuff that people were doing in the office. I said, Tim, I don't have any listings. I don't have any sales. Like, I had a timeline, right? A lot of agents, as you know, Gogo, have a timeline when they get into business. I was nearing it, right? Like I was like ready to pull a plug. He's like,
so
nope.
what was your timeline? How much time did you give for yourself?
90 days. I had enough saved up for about 90 days, and maybe I could scrape another 30 out of it. And he convinced me to scrape another 30 out of it. And he said, meet me on the Tuesday after Labor Day. So I met him like 7 a.m. He wanted me in there at 7 a.m. And I had been coming in at like 9:30, 9:40, pretty much like, when a lot of real estate agents start working. He said, meet me in the office at 7 a.m. or 7:30, whatever. It was early. It was earlier than 8. I know that. He said, I'm going to teach you how to pull expires. And back then there was like this big blue Bresser's book, and you had to like manually look everyone up and stuff anyways. And so September of 2003, I took 11 listings my first month after writing out and chanting and role playing all those scripts and just applying it.
11 listings in 1 month.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
How about that?
I went from zero to 11. And that was September of 2003. What's sad though, is my first closing was in January of 2004. So as you know, when you're starting out,
4 months to close your first.
Yeah. Oh, well, not technically like 6 months because I got licensed in May, June. Right. And so this wasn't until.
Or from the moment you took the listing, it took
correct. Yes. Because back then things didn't sell in like a day.
So then fast forward. I mean, that's amazing, right? But fast forward, at what point did you feel like you needed a team? Like you needed another you, or who was your first?
Yeah, essentially when I had more leads than I can handle. And that's actually one of the biggest advice when people ask me, like, how do you know when it's time to start a team?
I mean, I personally would say that 11 listings a month is more leads that you can handle.
I was 19 years old, so I was working like 60 hours a week. I didn't care at that point. But that's kind of the thing. You start a team if, and I'm not talking about, rev share team. I'm talking about a real estate team. You start a team when you have more leads than you can handle, or your passion for developing others is greater than your passion for listing and selling real estate. And instead of going down the path of more production and building a team, I actually took a step back and I took a job running a real estate office. So the same broker I had, Tim Riley, when he ended up passing away, the company that he worked for, reached out to me and said, Tim had recommended you for this. And I'm so grateful I took that opportunity, because that's where I learned how to recruit. That's where I learned how to train, where I learned about profit and loss. And basically I was running a brokerage, Gogo, at 21 years old. They gave me an office of like, now granted, it only had 13 agents, but I built it up to like 75 in 2 years. It was the fastest growing company in the chain.
Why did you go to Keller?
I went to Keller because I wanted to create an environment where agents were learning, growing, making money, having fun, a good energy, no drama, no coffee pot type stuff, environment. And at the time, Coldwell Banker, which, I love the owners, the franchise owners, Paul and Kathy Schweitzer, they wouldn't allow an agent to go have their own office within the same territory. So Keller had a model for that. It was called the mega agent model. And so it was like a no-brainer just to be able to operate in their same territory and have our own space. That was absolutely number one important to me. And that's not something that Coldwell offered.
Even when I was with Real Estate One prior to Keller, and I wanted to build a team, and that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
They were like, first of all, they said no, and I'm like, there has to be yes. The answer is not no, it has to be yes. It's just the how, right? So then eventually got to the point where they said, okay, you can do it, but you're going to have to figure out the how, right? Like there was no infrastructure for it, like what cut and what cap and none of that.
Yeah, where Keller actually had a book. They said, here's how the mega agent office operates, right? They had a model for it.
So then when you switched to Keller, did you already have a team at the time, or were you a solo agent at the time?
Great question. So January of 2009, it was me, an executive assistant, an ISA, one listing agent, and one buyer agent. So there was like 5 of us.
Okay. So let's talk about ISA very quick, internal sales associate, which is kind of a cold caller, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a fancy name for a cold caller. Do you train them, or how do you learn what they need to know?
My ISAs always made outbound prospecting calls for sellers. So that was a little bit different than some of the other models that you may have heard. A lot of ISAs handle inbound stuff, or they work with buyers. My ISAs only made outbound phone calls to sellers. And the reason for that is because we wanted to train them and kind of build their toughness and their mental toughness and get them ready to be great listing agents. And, it was.
So your ISA was an actual licensed agent.
They had to be licensed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay. So who taught them what to say? You, or who took the time?
Yeah. So I led by example. I'm a big believer in leading by example. So I would prospect every single day, and we would do it together. And the same thing, the same assignment Tim gave me, writing out scripts, chanting scripts, role playing scripts. I mean, I gave them the same assignments, and we just did the prospecting together.
Or at what point did you start building your team? Because now you also have offices, right? So you are part owner, or I should say your own Keller Williams offices. Yeah. So how do you go from, one listing agent, a buyer's agent, and an ISA and an admin to start a full-blown team and then start buying Keller?
So the number one thing, which it's so funny, because I've actually, if we could find some videos or audios from like 2011, 2012, when JGA, our real estate team, started to get big, the number one answer I would give, and I think you'll really appreciate this, Gogo, because I know you're all about agent attraction, is before agent attraction was even a thing, I would literally say, and it was so cool when I started hearing it, I'm like, oh my God, I knew it was onto something. I would say, when people would ask, what's the number one thing you can tell me? And I would say, you have to become attractive. And, sometimes it'd be like, well, do I got to clean myself up a little bit? Like, what do you mean?
Botox.
No. Yeah, right. Exactly. No. You have to be successful to where people are attracted to you. You have to lead by example. You have to take listings. You have to have signs out there. You got to advertise. You basically have to be the person that somebody else would want to be. And therefore you'll start attracting people to, hey, Jeff, hey, you seem like an up and comer, man. All of a sudden I see your signs everywhere. Oh, I see, I hear radio ads, whatever. You become somebody that, people want to work with. And so it's so funny, because like back in 2012, when people would ask, what's the number one thing? I'd say you got to become attractive. You got to create a problem. And that is, you have more business than you can handle. And because you have more business than you can handle, people want to work with you.
So one of the lessons that was the longest for me to learn is that you have to spend money to make money, because I've been so broke for so long, and I always had to improvise and find a cheap way, right? Or a free way. And that's why social media marketing started for me in the first place, because I had no CRM and I had no money. Do you want to make more money but work less? Are you in that phase of your life where you've worked plenty? Thank you so much. It's time for you to figure out how to work less and make more money. So whichever category you are in, let's break them down how I can help you a little bit. My goal here today is for you to realize that everything that needs to get done in your work, it needs to get done, just not by you. Can somebody else do it with a lower hourly rate? So if your hourly rate is that $120 or that $500, you're gonna look at that thing and say, what I'm doing right now, is this making me $500 an hour right now? If it's not, you're never gonna do it again. So stop doing all of those things that should not be on your calendar anymore. I had to look at okay, what is that I'm actually really good at, what I need to be doing at, where am I making most of my money? So what I'm asking you today is figure out, how do you actually get your clients, your partners, how do you actually make money? And that's what you're going to be doing, because that's the best return on your investment. That's the highest rate of your hour, right? And the things that you have to fill in, you're going to hire it out. So do more of what you figured out. So for me at the time was a lot of coffees. Write this down was one of the best tips I ever got. Don't ever eat alone. Have lunch with somebody that you haven't seen, an old college friend, a cousin, or the neighbor who just moved in on the street, the lady you met at yoga. So whatever that is for you, figure it out and do more of that. Let's get back time so you can spend it with your family. What if I said that give me $4 and I can give your life back? So that's what it's costed me. Today I have over 14 virtual assistants. And here's how I was looking at it first. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be like a call center and they're gonna have an accent and I have an accent. Who am I to judge? Some of my virtual assistants literally have better English than I do.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellen, I'm Gogo's design VA. So let's start with my office. This is my office. Please don't mind all the mess. Yeah, I have a yellow rug. This is how I take notes. And this is the notebook that I used to use when I first started working with Gogo.
Hey, hi everyone. So my name is Lindsay. I am one of Gogo's VAs. I'm from the very south of Brazil, border with Uruguay. I follow Gogo wherever she is when it comes to work, right? So I join every single meeting that she joins. I join every single training that she joins. I join every single call that she has to attend. I will be there, as a support.
So I make $2,300 an hour. I have 14 virtual assistants, $4 a piece. That's $56 an hour. $56 an hour to get my life back. I work 15 hours in 1 hour because I work my hour and the 14 of them work their hour. That's 15 hours work done in 1 hour of work. So if I said, give me $56 and I give you 14 hours of work done, consider it done, would you do it? 2 years ago, I should say, myself and my right-hand girl, Christy, together, we built a couple businesses and I made $800,000. The VAs that I have now today, which are 14 of them, they're virtual, right? They work different job capacities. So my design assistant, for example, she makes things pretty for my social media. I do the post because I built a brand around myself and I built a brand around how I think, right? And what I bring to this world. So that part cannot be changed out, but I don't have to be the one making the post. I don't have to be the one responding to the DMs. I don't have to be the one making it pretty. I hire it out. So all of these different jobs, every job that you can think of, can be hired out at $4 an hour. So now I technically work 8 hours 3 times a week. So that's 24 hours work for me. But look at it, do I really work 24 hours? I work 24 hours, but I have 14 people working another 40. That's 560. So technically in 1 week, 584 hours worth of work gets done. But in those 24 hours, then I work. I do what I really enjoy. I do what I'm really good at. And I do what makes me the most amount of money. So because I did that, I went from making $800,000 with one assistant to making $2.7 million last year, working 3 days a week. Thank you. You're probably thinking you're way too freaking busy. How are you gonna hire them? What job you're gonna give them? Where do you even find them? How do you pay them? What are all of those things, right? And you're right. So if you don't have time to find them and train them, I will find them and train them for you. Actually have them already. So you don't have to do any of that. What if I said that not only I find them, train them, and I guarantee them for 90 days, so if they don't work out, you can return them and you get your next one. So what if I said, give me $4 and I give you $120? Very simple. We clone you, because you don't need a bunch of mini Gogos, you need a bunch of mini yous. So the way we do this is you can jump into my team's calendar. We can ask you all of the questions on earth, who you are, what you do, how you do it, and then we figure out where you have your weaknesses. What are the things that you're not good at, or you don't enjoy doing it, but you do it anyway? So then we are going to match you up with 3 VAs. We discuss all of our virtual assistants. Then you get to interview them. Then you get to choose the one that will fit that job. All of my virtual assistants' job, literally step by step, have an SOP, so your VA will know exactly how to do that specific job. Plus they're going to come trained. They will know how to do that job already. But in the future, if you don't want to come back to us to get your next virtual assistant, you will have the database and the training program. So you can just say, hey, Jessica, you're hired. Here's this curriculum, watch it. You start in 2 weeks. Let me just close with this quote that changed my life. That if you don't build your dreams, somebody is going to hire you to build theirs. Yeah, so can I ask you, A, how did you learn that lesson? B, what percentage of your income you would say it goes for advertising? Because you are everywhere in the state of Michigan, right? So what is it, what amount of money it's healthy for someone to spend to invest back into growing their own brand?
Great question. So first things first, I did not spend $1 on leads, on Zillow, on advertising, on anything until our GCI was $1 million or more. In fact, I think it was 1.3. And I finished the year, I want to say it was 2011, maybe. We finished at 1.3 million in GCI, no advertising. It was all cold calling. And I wouldn't even call it cold calling. I mean, it was expireds and for sale by owners. And that was calling and door knocking. And my first entry into spending money was spending money on mailings, direct mail to expireds and for sale by owners. And then the second thing I added was Zillow. And back then, Zillow, you could spend $500 and have all the leads you'd want. Now you get one lead for that. And then it grew to about 2.2. I think we went from 1.3 to maybe 2.2 in GCI in 1 year. So we added $1 million in GCI in 1 year. Of course, adding agents along the way as well. And then that's when I started on radio. And I picked one small radio station. It's a classic rock station here in Detroit called WCSX. And it was one of the lesser expensive ones because it wasn't like the popular, trendy, up and coming one. It had been around for a while, but I picked it because I figured the demographics of the listeners all have homes with equity or homes to sell. And back then you needed homes with equity, right? And, one radio station led to 2. And then, obviously seeing success on a couple led to 4. And then once we added, I will say once we added billboard on top of radio, that's when we saw a pretty nice hockey stick growth in our business. But the lesson here is no, I did not spend $1 on advertising until our GCI was over $1 million. And it was all built over the phone or at the door until that point.
So I have a question then.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are the percentage of agents that ever get to a $1 million GCI?
It's probably less than 10% if I had to guess.
So let's talk to the 90%ers. Right? The people who are not there yet, maybe they're just going for their first 100,000 right now, right? Or maybe they're going for 250 or 500.
Yeah. What do you spend? Yeah. Your question on what you spend.
What would you do now? If you know what you know today, right? Yep. And I mean, not assuming that you're going to make it to $1 million because we know that you can because you did it, right? But if you didn't know that you can make it to $1 million GCI and you want to grow it today, what should one do? Well,
first of all, I wouldn't spend more than 20%. And even during our years when we were at 5 million in GCI, 6 million in GCI, I only crossed above 20% 2 years in a row. And I'll tell you, for 2 years in a row, I lost $500,000 both of those years. $1 million of my savings account gone. And that's when I broke the rule of 20%. Because we were doing about 5.5 million in GCI and I wanted to get to 8. And I did the math and figured if I went and at the time I was spending 1.2 million on advertising. Okay, so that's just under 20% on the 5.5 million. And I did the math and I figured if I spend 800,000 more on advertising, so if I bump my advertising up to 2 million, all right, and I'll get to your question, but this is a good lesson too. If I bump it up to 2 million, which 2 years in a row, $2 million in advertising, thinking about it, I cannot anyways. GCI went from 5.5 million to 6.2 million. Now do the math on that. I spent $800,000 more and to earn 700,000 more. So, and not only that, but we had added staff, we had added ISAs. So we lost money 2 years in a row during those years because I anticipated increasing the advertising was going to, double our business.
Probably where you went wrong is that you already owned a big chunk of the market.
Yeah, that's right. The law of diminishing returns, right? You can only do so much. So 20% is a good rule of thumb. You should not exceed 20% of your GCI for your advertising budget. So to answer your question of the other 90% who are still working on their first 100 or their first 200,000 in GCI, it's still going to be, which is never anyone's favorite, but it's still going to be prospecting either over the phone or at the door. It's going to be having a small spend on internet leads because internet leads do have homes to sell. They're not just buyer leads. They do have homes to sell. It's going to be an aggressive open house strategy, which is not just one open house when you feel like it or when you think about it. It's going to be a hybrid farming technique, which is reaching out to a neighborhood once a month for 12 months in a row, letting them know of the listings and sales. I'm going to consider social media as my database, and I'm going to follow every single client. I'm going to add them, every single client, as friends. I'm going to tag them when I'm listing their home for sale. I'm going to follow all of the people that are following their posts. So I'm now adding to that database because those people are going to follow me back. And those are friends and family of clients and past clients of mine. Those are a handful of the things that I'm going to do right now, which, by the way, are a lot of the things that we're teaching and a lot of things our agents are doing. And I know, obviously, you support, especially the last one. And Gogo, when did you get in the business?
2011.
You were around for some of this. So I would say from 2009 to like 2015, I wasn't conscious about making friends in the industry. Now, I wasn't necessarily making enemies, although I'm sure there's some people that felt like
I was the same way. To me, I've never used to go to events and things like that because I'm like,
I didn't give a crap.
So, relationship I want to have with these agents is that we have a good relationship. We don't need to be best friends. I'm not in the industry to make some friends. Yes.
So now know that I didn't participate in literally anything. I didn't care about anything other than our goal. And then layer on top of that I'm calling everyone in the market's expireds, which is totally legal, totally ethical. There's nothing unethical about it. However, it is like the dirty side of the business. And what happens is agents are like, oh, don't let your listing expire. Jeff and his team are going to be all over them. And we started developing this reputation of being very aggressive and not really caring about other agents in the market. And that wasn't intentional. It wasn't what we were thinking. I was just doing what I was taught. I was just doing what I was trained to do. Well, it was somewhere around 2015 where I made the decision to start giving back and start training and start doing stuff for free and going to board events and raising my hand and volunteering to teach, and basically just saying, yeah, I'll share with you everything I'm doing. And from an agent attraction standpoint, that was when like things shifted from, Jeff's a bad guy to, oh my God. And by the way, we still struggle with it. People who don't know me are probably the ones that might still think that. But it shifted from that to, wow, he really does share everything he's doing. Okay, well, this is cool. Why is he willing to share this with his competition here in Detroit? So that was a lesson that I learned because I waited too long to do that. I was just so laser focused on my goals, our team goals, and I was blazing a trail. And when you blaze a trail, you piss people off, not intentionally, but that happened. I honestly believe that I can help everyone get to the next level, whether they're with me or not. And so I go into that coffee or into that meeting with the intention of figuring out how to help that agent. And if by chance or by accident, it just so happens that they think they would be better off just being in business with me or one of our brokerages during that process, then we will have that conversation. But I think what's different is a lot of your recruiters today, or those that are focusing on recruiting, are going right to, all right, here's why you should join me. Here's all the benefits. What are you doing at that old company, or what are you doing here anyways? Where I go into the meeting with, hey, Gogo, just want to make sure you understand. My goal is I've got only one goal out of this, and that is to see if I can help you get to what to the level you want to get to, whether you're with me or not. Does that sound cool? So now you totally, everyone lowers their guard and we have just an honest conversation, and I make suggestions based on what I'm hearing. Every now and then I might throw in there, at our company, here's how we handle it. So yes, I'm kind of planting seeds, but honestly, you don't have to join our company to get that. You can go buy that on your own. You can go hire that out on your own. And so I really think that the secret sauce for us has been, my intention is genuinely to help people. And if that means they're going to join us at some point in time, cool. And if they never do, that's fine too. Doesn't matter either way, as long as I'm helping them. Okay.
Somebody asked in the questions, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah. So I think I recognized it back in 2005, 2006, when I had an opportunity to run a real estate office. And I recognized that the training industry was not designed to help people actually be successful. It was designed to help people cap. It was designed to help people live, an above average life. And so it really started back then. My mission now, and it's kind of been advancing through the years in terms of how we define it, but it's to impact millions to live their most unreal life. And our definition of unreal is something so amazing, it's almost unbelievable. So, for instance, we've got a big event next week in Traverse City. In January, we got a big event down in Orlando. And I always start off with, here's our mission, here's why we're here, here's our goal. And then either I'll go through what's called the Live Unreal formula, or we'll bring up a guest speaker to come out and present our Live Unreal formula, which is essentially our mission is to impact millions to live their most unreal life. So,
okay. Next question we have, how do you get over the fear of rejection? Have you ever had the fear of rejection? Do you care if you get rejected?
Well, yeah, I did. When I first started, that's, that was my whole thing. Like, no one's going to hire me. I think I just accepted the fact that, and it's funny, one of our other Gloverisms, and it also written out on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper hanging above my phone for years. And that is, the more rejection I get, the more money I make. The more rejection I get, the more money I make. The more rejection I get, the more money I make. It was a daily affirmation. And essentially what that means is, as long as you're spending time getting rejected by clients, then you're spending time working on getting paid. Because not only are you getting better, your skills are getting better. Because every time you get rejected, you think of different ways to handle things. Every time you get rejected, you're going to be better for the next call, better for the next appointment. But if you're getting rejected, then that means you're talking to people. And if you're making contacts, it's contact sport. I'm going to get rejected. That means I'm going to go get a chance to meet with some people who have an opportunity to reject me. And that's okay. The more rejection I get, the more money I make. It was hanging above my phone. And I knew every time I picked up that phone, guaranteed I'm going to get rejected. And I also know that I'm going to be closer to my goals, because I was the weird one in the office that was willing to take on that rejection.
You have to be weird though, right? You can't be the norm in order to make it. You have to be that oddball out, and it's okay. You have to own that, right? So Rock Thomas explained it to me the way I finally understood no's. He said, I knew my numbers. I knew that if I call 100 people, 4 of them are going to list with me. Right. And he knew every time I get a listing at the time, right, this is years back, it was $4,000 for him.
Yeah.
Right. So he knew that he's going to have to get 96 no's in order to get 4 yeses. And then he did the math, right? He divided it by 96 and whatever, it came out to be like $40, right? Yeah. So he knew every time he got a no, he still made $40 because he knew the math, right? He knew that if I do 96 no's, I'm going to get to 4 yeses, right? And then every time you get a no, when you know that percentage, when you know what your averages is, it's just numbers, guys. Everything we do is always numbers. When you know what your average is, then you know what a no is worth in dollars.
Yep. That's a perfect way to look at it.
I got a quick question.
Please.
You mentioned that you about door knocking and different ways of calling. Do you still teach your team door knocking? And I know it's probably not your favorite. Personally, like, it's kind of ones I like, I've done them all, but personally, I like the face-to-face contact. So I think you have a stronger way, stronger probability of closing because you already got that meeting with the person.
Yeah, you're already in front of them. Oh yeah. Hands down, door knocking is actually more effective for the time, for the face-to-faces. It's more effective. You're going to get more results per contact. However, I would say the phones are more efficient because you can talk to more people in a shorter amount of time. So no, we absolutely do both outbound prospecting over the phone and at the door. Absolutely we do. And what's amazing is today it's so much actually better than it was back then, because back then all businesses were door knocking. Like it was a common thing. Well, today, because so many businesses dialed back their door knocking and they're doing it through social media, they're doing whatever, it's actually like a pleasant surprise when someone shows up at your door. So we don't get as many doors slammed in our face.
I love face-to-faces, and my opportunity all I needed to do, because I was like, my name is weird. I have an accent. Nobody can even pronounce my name. I just need to get in front of them. So my opportunity to get in front of them without knocking on a stranger's door is to make them come to me, which was through open houses. Yep. So I would do open houses. If I didn't have a listing and I asked an agent if I can hold their listings open, and they said, no, I'm already holding it open on a Saturday. Then I was like, how about Sunday? How about Tuesday afternoon, Monday morning? I don't care. Give me a time that you're not holding it open. So then I can take my social media, market it, get a potential buyer for myself. If they're not buying this house, they're buying another house, right? And that I am a firm believer. We tell our agents all the time, our newer agents, the agents and the Gogo's real estate team, they have to hold open houses. If we have a listing, it cannot be held open. It has to be held open until it sells. It cannot sit over a weekend without an open house. And if we don't have a listing, because the market has been so crazy listed it sells, right? Then they have to find a listing to hold it open 2 weekends, a very minimum 2 weekends a month.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. There was a question in the chat, less people answering. So no, it's about the same. It's about 1 out of every 3 and will answer their door. And it was like that in 2005, 2010, 2015. It's always about 1 out of every 3 will open their door, so long as you're doing it between the hours of 4 and 5:30. Without question, 4 and 5:30 are the best. Trust me, I've been doing this stuff for 20 years. That's the best 90 minutes to do it, because in most cases, they haven't started dinner yet. In most cases, you're always going to have at least one party home by 4 or 4:30, especially if there's kids, 4 to 5:30. And with the Ring doorbells, it's offsetting. So to answer the question, yes, there probably are some people that don't answer because they can see that it might look like a solicitor. But also what's different is back then people were taught, don't open your door, don't open the door for strangers. Well, now if they see a professional is standing on the porch, let's see what's going on here. Let's see what this is all about. So it kind of offsets. So, people are like, hey, do the Ring doorbells change things? It helps. And yes, it hurts, but that offset. So it's the same. It's still 1 out of every 3 doors.
Awesome. Well, we are at the hour, Jeff. Thank you so much for your time. If you have a second, I have one more question. Do you read books?
I do. Now I do it slower than everyone else. So I read a page
very slow
out of a book. I read a page out of a book per day, just one, if it's just half page, I'll read 2 pages, but I read 1 page per day. And it's just like enough to get my mind moving and thinking positively about whatever it is. 3 favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, 3 Feet from Gold, and the Power of Positive Thinking. Think and Grow Rich, 3 Feet from Gold, and the Power of Positive Thinking. Those are my favorite 3.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to seeing you guys sometime soon.
Thank you. Thanks for being an open book and literally sharing numbers and all of that. It means
for sure. No problem.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys. Have a good one.
Jeff, have a good one.
All right, you bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wasn't he awesome? Like, I love that we get some of the best in the world, right? To come and talk to us and open up their book of business. So I learned so much today because knowing that don't ever spend over 20%, at least you have guidance, right? So now you know, if you want to spend money on advertising, don't spend more than 20% of what you made. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I was just so excited to have an outsider and not just the EXP, right? When it comes to agent attraction, because many of us are building local teams. And I thought this will help you understand of where to start and how to structure that. And Matt, I didn't even get you listening.
Gardner.
Guys, this is Matt Gardner. We met today for like 2 minutes and now I'm hanging out in his kitchen, right? I just asked his last name. That's how this works. I love EXP. We are actually a family. Well, thank you everyone. I hope you had great takeaways for how to build a team. The cool thing is you get to do it your style. Right? You get to do whatever you want. You can build a local team, you can build a downline, you can have a cold calling center with ISAs or not have a cold calling center and do it on social media. Whatever you want to do.
So how'd you meet him?
Matt? Instagram?
I I just moved here the same week that Gogo moved here. We're both implants to this neighborhood, basically. And I was like, someone else in EXP said, oh, Gogo's moving to that same neighborhood. So I messaged her and that's it.
And we were talking like 1 o'clock last night or something. And I said, oh yeah, by the way, I have a 10 o'clock Asian attraction if you want to sit in on it. So he drove over to my house at 9:30. And at 9:48 is when I figured out that this is not going to work for me today because they're pounding like crazy. So thank you, everyone. See you soon. Go get them.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Good job.
Whew, we did it.
Everything that has happened to us in the past, we gave it a meaning. So for example, let's say that every time you started a business, it never worked out. To you, that means that you shouldn't start a business because it's not going to work out, right? If every time you started a business, it was a multi-million-dollar business, to you, it means that you should definitely start another business because you're going to make multi-millions again because that's what you did every time. So our feelings equal emotion because we give it a meaning. If this happens, then that. If I trip, I break a leg. Or you say, if I trip, I just stand up. So always check and see why you're making a decision about something the way you have made it because something happened to you in the past and you need to break that habit. Exit out. So with this specific situation, Zoom call fell apart. There was 1 million people in my house and hammers and that loud machine. I don't know what it's called, right? And instead of freaking out and calling it and canceling it, I was like, hey, Matt, nice to meet you. You're in my house. Can we be in yours? Got in the car, drove over there, got my videographer, my notebook, my laptop, put it in an upside down bowl, mixing bowl, and voila, I had an office and we continued on with the meeting. Problem solved. So each problem that you're faced with, it just requires a solution. It's really that simple. So instead of flipping out, take a big breath, maybe even close your eyes if you have to, and ask yourself this question. If you didn't have those thoughts, what would you do? Actually, being an entrepreneur is like a spaghetti. Not an uncooked spaghetti, which is a straight line, right? It's more like a cooked spaghetti. It's like this in the bowl, right? That's what being like an entrepreneur like sometimes. Don't take it to the heart. You're good. Just figure out how you're going to do it and go get it done.
In the next Gogopreneur episode.
I am not going to come on here and say things that are going to make Gogo look stupid. Of course I am. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so 10 years ago, our kids are 3. We signed them up for soccer. They're Team Canada. I'm joking around because I'm a funny guy. I'm joking around and I say, hey, we should have the kids wear Canadian tuxedos. That'd be freaking hilarious. Gogo's like, well, what's a Canadian tuxedo? And I'm like, what do you mean? What's a Canadian tuxedo? It's jeans and a fucking jean jacket. What do you mean? How long have you been in this country? How do you not know that? So she laughs and jokes around and says, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, jeans and a jean jacket. Gotcha. Guess who fucking doesn't understand sarcasm? Gogo. Guess whose kids showed up with Canadian tuxedos to soccer? Gogo's kids.
And here's one of my favorite quotes. What makes people successful is not the lack of resources, it's the lack of resourcefulness. So as long as you can tap into your resourcefulness, as I like to say it, jump out of a plane or jump and build a plane down. Let me try this again.
That I've worked together with now, in February, will be 15 years. We started working together February of 08.
This one and host it right now, but I'm just hosting for the first 2 minutes. That's all. And then we'll get
Bryce, what's up? I like those reels. You're like.
Bryce's reels are on fire.
My dad dance moves.
Right.
That's all right. Hey, who cares? You're doing it.
The floor guys had it to be rescheduled because we had some issues, and next thing you know, that's when they are coming, and that's the only time they have. And they were like pounding and going at it, right? There was like screwing and hammers and everything in the background. This can't happen, right? I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Just saying, she's not that fucking smart.
Gogo's real estate. Gogo's real estate. Woo! Go. Gogo Becky is. Oh, damn. What do we build?
In the next Gogopreneur episode.
We are going to pick up my sister and her family from the airport. I haven't seen my sister in over a year. It takes about 38 hours door to door. They flew from Bucharest. Well, first they drive to Bucharest, which is about 6.5 hours from my hometown, Bucharest, Romania. And then from there they flew to Paris, and then they had a layover. And then from Paris they flew to Atlanta, Georgia. And then from Atlanta, Georgia, they were flying to Tampa now. So we are picking them up at 9:50. So let's get going. I'm so excited to see them. We're gonna be late to pick up Are you excited, Kobe? Yeah. There's Kobe. Say hi. Hey. Gonna see my sister. So we are waiting and waiting and waiting. But then we are down to the last minute. At any minute they could be coming from the stairs. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see my family. I cannot wait. Right, Kobe? No. I cannot wait. See you, Crazy. See you, Lisa. Right, so I'll share a little bit about my childhood because I wondered why I am the way I am. My parents, and I'm actually, this is going to tear me up. This is the first. Guys, I borrowed $200 in 2003, and I came to a continent that I didn't know a single human being to chase my American dream. Today my sister is standing right there, and it's her first time seeing me speak. So it's a very special.
For all the products and services featured in this episode, pause the show right now, scan the QR code, and I will see you on our website.